What are the benefits of React over vanilla JavaScript? So React has a bunch of benefits over your plain vanilla JavaScript. So one of them being the fact that React uses a component-based architecture like we've discussed before. So in your vanilla, your native, or let me say traditional way of writing um, web development using HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So you have the HTML code usually contains a very large a very large list of your code. So everything is usually mobbed up inside your HTML file. So, but in the case of React, it uses a component-based architecture such that we can have different components doing different parts on our for different parts of our web application, right? So, and we can also this also gives us the benefit of reusing components because in a natural website, or let me say a complex web application, you would have similar UI parts, and you might want to reuse some things on your application. So you can simply use components for things like this. So components, as we've discussed, we can refer to components as like chunks or parts or small pieces of your code that comes together to form up the the whole UI of your web application, right? So we can also use the analogy of a block and of bricks that makes up a house, right? So the house can be referred to as your fully prepared UI, and each brick can be referred to as a component. So I think that analogy works, right? So that's just one, and you can look at this snippet now. This for the first one is a snippet of how your HTML code looks like, and the second one is of how React does it using components. So the header, sidebar, main contents, graph info, and the likes, they are each of them are components, and they can be reused in different parts of the web application as needed. So another one we'd like to discuss is the fact that React allows optimized re-rendering using a concept called virtual DOM. So in your normal HTML, using vanilla JavaScript, the native way of writing is whenever there is a change on your in your code, probably a button click, or so we usually use DOM manipulation, whereby whenever you change something, it means the DOM is re-rendered. But in the case of using React uses the concept of virtual DOM to optimize the rendering by only rendering the parts that needs to be like updated. So and that way it makes performance better because can always optimize the rendering. So we'll look at virtual DOM in details soon. So another one is the fact that React allows developers to write HTML structure within JavaScript code using the file format of GSX, using GSX file format. So in your vanilla JavaScript, the way we write it is HTML file separately, CSS file separately, and JavaScript file separately. But with the advent of React, we can now use GSX file format to write both JavaScript and HTML inside one file format, and this makes it easier for both for it's makes it easier for developers to work, and it makes the work faster and more efficient by making it easy to do manipulations and a lot of dynamic actions straight on just one file. Okay, so another one is the fact that React allows to write declarative code. So declarative code means the code that tells you just tell it what to do, but the code itself figures out how to do it, right? So it's different from imperative code. So imperative code is when you have to tell the code what to do, how to do it, and like lay down all the steps. But React has a lot of like behind the scenes of how it's like makes things work for us. So you just need to follow the steps that it has laid down for us to use it. So we'll look into this more in detail as we move on. So another one is the fact that React is state driven. So React is state driven. So what this means is that the UI is updated by data change. So whenever there is a change in data, in any data on your page, so this triggers a rendering. So it means that you can also always be confident that the content on your page is always updated with your data. So you don't you there's no such thing as stale data as long as you are using um the necessary hooks in React.